My wife handed me a pregnancy test with 2 pink lines and said 4 words that changed everything. "It's not yours, Michael." I stared at the plastic stick, then at her perfectly composed face, and realized I was about to become the most dangerous man she'd ever underestimated. Jessica stood there in our marble-tiled bathroom, still wearing her silk pajamas, looking like she was discussing quarterly earnings rather than obliterating our marriage. Her blonde hair was pulled back in that effortless way that probably took 30 minutes to achieve, and her manicured fingers drummed against the vanity with the same rhythm she used during board meetings. "I see," I said, setting the test down carefully. Inside, my analytical mind was already spinning, calculating variables, assessing risks. 4 years of marriage to Jessica Whitmore, now Jessica Sterling, had taught me that nothing she did was spontaneous. And the father? Brandon. She said it like she was ordering coffee. Brandon Cross, her boss, managing director, married with twins. "How long?" I asked, though I suspected I already knew. The late nights had started 8 months ago, right after her promotion to corporate PR director. Amazing how career advancement and adultery so often coincided in our circle. "Does it matter?" Jessica turned to her mirror, began applying her morning skincare routine with mechanical precision. "I wanted you to hear it from me before I make my decision." Her decision, not our decision. I watched her reflection, noting the way her shoulders relaxed now that her secret was out. She thought she'd won something here. "Whatever you decide, I'll support you," I said quietly. She paused, moisturizer halfway to her cheek, and for just a moment I saw surprise flicker across her face. She'd expected anger, tears, maybe threats. The calm acceptance confused her. "Good. Confused people made mistakes, and I never missed a mistake. I'm glad you're being mature about this, Michael." She resumed her routine. "I know this isn't easy for you." I nodded, kissed her forehead like a good, dutiful husband, and went downstairs to make coffee. As the machine hummed to life, I pulled out my phone and opened the contact for my brother John. "Need to see you today. Urgent." His response came within seconds. "Your place or mine?" "Yours." "And John, bring your laptop." John lived in a converted warehouse with exposed brick walls and multiple monitors. "Jessica's pregnant." "It's not mine," I said, settling into his chair. "Brandon Cross, her boss. I need to know how deep this goes." 3 hours later, we had our timeline. The affair had been going on for over a year, intensifying 8 months ago. But Jessica's browser history revealed the real plan. "She's been researching paternity testing before she told you about the pregnancy," John said, "plus divorce attorneys specializing in high-net-worth infidelity cases." The pieces clicked. She's been planning this pregnancy. Jessica could use the baby as leverage either way. If it was Brandon's, she'd leave me for the real father. If it was mine, she'd still leave but claim moral high ground. Either way, she won. "I need to make a call," I said. Helen Cross answered immediately. "Mrs. Cross, this is Michael Sterling. I work with your husband. I have concerns about a professional matter." A pause. "Mr. Sterling, I think we should definitely talk." We met at a downtown cafe. Helen was smaller than expected, with auburn hair and intelligent green eyes. Former prosecutor turned stay-at-home mom. "How long have you suspected?" I asked directly. 3 months. Too many client dinners, suspicious credit card charges. She pulled out a notebook filled with dates, times, amounts. She'd been building a case. "My wife is pregnant. She claims it's your husband's baby." Helen's coffee paused. "Claims?" "I think she's lying about paternity to manipulate both of us." The fact that Helen said, "What do you propose we do?" told me everything. She wasn't the crying type. She was the methodical destruction type. We find out the truth and make sure everyone gets exactly what they deserve. Helen snapped her notebook shut. "Mr. Sterling, this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship." Over the next 2 weeks, Helen and I became unlikely partners in surveillance. The breakthrough came when Helen followed Jessica to a medical clinic. "Paternity testing," she reported. "She paid for it herself. $5,000 from your joint account. She's trying to keep this completely private." That evening, Jessica was unusually affectionate, suddenly wanting to make our marriage work, but her fear was showing. Something had shifted. "I can't lose everything," she whispered, and I knew Brandon had abandoned her. Helen confirmed it. Brandon's distancing himself. Any scandal could kill his promotion chances. We were walking through the park when the plan crystallized. "Jessica's family Sunday dinners," I said. "Senator Whitmore, Judge Whitmore, all the political elite. That's where we destroy them." Helen's prosecutorial instincts lit up. Complete social annihilation. That evening at John's warehouse, we laid out everything. The picture was devastating. Jessica had been playing Brandon and me against each other, lying about paternity to both of us. The baby was mine, but she'd been telling Brandon it was his while researching how to fake DNA results. "She's been planning this for months," Helen said, closing her laptop. Sunday dinner just became a lot more interesting. Sunday evening at the Whitmore estate was like stepping into a political thriller. The Tudor mansion sat on 3 acres of manicured grounds, its Gothic windows glowing against the October darkness. Valets took cars, uniformed staff circulated with drinks, and the state's political elite mingled in rooms that had hosted governors and senators for 3 generations. Jessica was radiant in a way that made my skin crawl. She wore a flowing black dress that subtly emphasized her pregnancy, and she moved through the crowd like she was campaigning for office herself. Every gesture was calculated, every smile perfectly calibrated. I followed John through the receiving line, playing the supportive husband while internally counting down to destruction. "Michael!" Senator Patricia Whitmore embraced me with the kind of political warmth that felt genuine, but absolutely wasn't. "How are you holding up with all of Jessica's exciting news?" I smiled blandly. "It's been quite a journey." Judge William Whitmore shook my hand with the grip of a man who'd spent 40 years intimidating defendants. "Jessica tells us you're being very understanding about everything." Understanding. That was an interesting word choice. It suggested Jessica had already begun laying groundwork for whatever narrative she planned to unleash. John and I positioned ourselves near the back of the main reception room, where we had clear sightlines to the exits and optimal acoustics for the recording equipment hidden in John's jacket. Helen was outside in her car, monitoring police scanners and ready to contact media outlets if things went according to plan. At precisely 8 o'clock, Jessica moved to the center of the room and gently clinked her champagne flute. "Thank you all for being here tonight," she began, her voice carrying the kind of trained authority that came from a lifetime of political coaching. "I know Sunday dinners are sacred in our family, but I have something important to share with all of you." I watched the faces around the room, senators, judges, business leaders, society wives, all focused on Jessica with the kind of attention reserved for major announcements. As many of you know, Michael and I are expecting our first child. Polite applause, warm smiles. What you don't know is that this pregnancy has revealed some difficult truths about our marriage. The room went very quiet. Jessica took a breath and I saw her transform. Her posture changed, became smaller, more vulnerable. When she spoke again, her voice carried just the right note of brave determination. "I've been living with domestic abuse for the past year." The reaction was immediate and devastating. Gasps, murmurs, the sound of someone dropping a glass. I felt the weight of 40 pairs of eyes turning toward me, and in that moment, I realized Jessica's true genius. She wasn't just ending our marriage. She was destroying me completely while positioning herself as the sympathetic victim, perfect for her mother's gubernatorial campaign. Michael has been controlling, manipulative, and yes, physically violent. She pulled up her sleeve, revealing bruises on her forearm. "I've been hiding it because I was ashamed, because I thought I could handle it, because I didn't want to embarrass our families." More gasps. Senator Whitmore moved toward her daughter, maternal fury radiating from every line of her body. "But I can't expose my child to this environment," Jessica continued, tears now flowing with perfect timing. "I've filed for divorce, and I'm pressing charges." The room exploded. Voices raised in anger, people moving toward me with expressions ranging from disgust to outright hatred. Security guards appeared from nowhere, positioning themselves between me and the crowd. This was it. The moment Jessica had orchestrated so carefully. My complete and total destruction, witnessed by everyone who mattered in our social and political circles. I reached into my jacket and pressed play. Jessica's voice filled the room, crystal clear through the hidden speakers John had installed. The idiot actually believes I love him. Michael's so pathetic, so desperate to please me. Do you know he cried when I told him about the baby? Actually cried like a child. The room went dead silent. Brandon's voice answered her. What about the bruises? Please, I've been giving myself those for weeks. A little makeup, some strategic pressure points. It's amazing what you can fake when you know the right techniques. Jessica's face had gone white. She was looking around frantically, trying to locate the source of the sound. The recording continued. The best part is everyone will believe me because I'm Patricia Whitmore's daughter. Poor, abused Jessica, forced to leave her violent husband for the sake of her child. It's perfect campaign material. Senator Whitmore was staring at her daughter with an expression I wouldn't have wished on my worst enemy. But I wasn't done. And just so we're all clear about the facts, I said, my voice cutting through the stunned silence. The baby Jessica is carrying is mine, not Brandon Cross's, as DNA testing has confirmed. She's been lying to both of us about paternity while planning this elaborate fraud. I pulled out a folder and began distributing copies of the medical documents, bank records, and hotel receipts Helen and I had compiled. You'll also find evidence that Jessica and her boss, Brandon Cross, have been embezzling company funds to pay for their affair, including the apartment where they've been meeting, and the jewelry Brandon thought he was buying for his wife. Judge Whitmore was reading through the documents, his face growing darker with each page. Jessica finally found her voice. This is all fabricated. Michael is desperate to destroy me because I'm leaving him. Actually, I said, pulling out my phone, there's more. I played the recording of Jessica describing her plan to fake the paternity results, her laughter as she detailed how she would manipulate both Brandon and me, her casual dismissal of the child as just a tool to get what I want. When the recording ended, the silence in the room was absolute. Jessica looked around desperately, searching for allies, for someone who might still believe her, but every face in the room reflected the same expression: disgust, betrayal, and the kind of cold fury that comes from being manipulated by someone you trusted. Senator Whitmore spoke first, her voice carrying the full weight of her political authority. Jessica, you are no longer welcome in this house. And with those words, the Whitmore political dynasty began its collapse. Jessica's scream of rage and desperation echoed through the mansion as I walked toward the exit. John beside me, the sound of sirens already wailing in the distance as Helen made her calls to the media. Behind me, I could hear Jessica shouting that I'd destroyed an innocent baby's life, that I was a monster, that she'd make me pay for this. She was right about one thing. I destroyed a life tonight. Just not the one I was supposed to.